Hi there guys, it's Icebergler. We're coming in again with another educational video today, but this time we're talking about how to win fights in Tarkov. We're talking about this beyond the concept of just like gunplay and gun mechanics. Obviously, clicking on heads will win you a lot of fights. And yes, even if you're using these skills and resources we're about to talk about, it's definitely still better if you're hitting your shots. But if anybody has led you to believe that winning fights in Tarkov is all about your ability to hold recoil, control, acquire heads faster. There's a bit of truth to it, but it's definitely not the absolute truth. When it really comes down to it, Tarkov is one of the games you have a lot of versatility in how you win. Every game utilizes the concept of repositioning and putting yourself in a better spot to win the fight, but you really, really feel it when you play Tarkov. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be breaking down a couple of clips of me fighting on the resort, talking about how I utilized the information that was around me and or how I repositioned, used sound, rotated to be in just a different place than they expected me to be, and won the fight not because of my gunplay skills, though that's partially it, but more so based off of knowledge, but based off of thinking through what was the most effective way to approach that fight. So let's get into it. All right, this first clip that we're going to be breaking down today is in a particular situation in the resort on Shoreline. So if you've not really played Shoreline, the map, that is a map I run very often. You could say I'm a Shoreline main, but it is a really good place for PvP, and it's a good place to learn how to survive against teams and win fights against teams. I love Shoreline, but that's beside the point. Anyways, this first clip we're going to be looking at, we're on third floor. This gentleman and I had been exchanging a couple shots back and forth, kind of testing the waters, and we had somewhat of a decent idea where each other were. It starts out with me on the stairs coming up to third, and let's just go ahead and watch the clip here, and we're going to break it down right after how I utilized information to win this fight. We're going to wait. I want him to give me some info. I think I just had... So, looking at that situation, there's one specific moment we obviously really need to focus on. It's kind of quiet in the video, but there's a moment where he hits a mag reload. We're in the middle of saying we want to wait for him to give us information, and he does exactly that. He changes his mag. What's really nice about that, though, what's really awesome about that is not only did he give us information, he gave us a guaranteed window of time where he was unable to shoot his gun, and we would have the advantage in a fight. Anytime that opportunity arises, you want to take advantage of it. Anytime someone is hitting a mag reload, checking a weapons malfunction, or trying to pull an aid to throw at you, it might feel dangerous. It might feel like, there's such a short window. But trust me, those reloads, the pin pull, all that, they take anywhere between, let's say 2 to 4 seconds sometimes to get completely done. So you have a nice little window, especially if you're close to push them. All right, cool. Let's move on and let's check out this next clip. In the hole in the floor. Drop into a hole. Got him. So this guy and I had been on the same floor. We've been on second floor of East. We both heard each other. We understood where each other were. I rotated into a group of rooms called that's 209 and 213, and kind of had a brief second where I was like, let's listen to what this guy does. He was starting to move up the staircase a little bit, stopped, pulled back, and held. I'm sitting there thinking, we could try and push out on second floor. This guy's expecting me to come from that angle. Or we could drop to bottom floor. He would lose all audio on us because he's most likely not prone and listening through the ground. And we could rotate up that outside staircase and potentially get a little bit of an advantage. It doesn't have to be a lot. It can be 0.3 seconds. It can be 0.5 seconds of an advantage on hitting our shots first. And that's exactly what happened. So we rotated, dropped through the hole down to first, ran through, went up those back stairs, and though he did turn to look at me, he was focused as I was walking up and was turning to address the sound that had suddenly surprised him because he assumed that I was still going to be on second floor. And that's all it takes sometimes. You don't necessarily need someone to be caught completely red-handed, no idea what's going on to win that fight. Just that little moment of him being like, wait, what? And thinking maybe there were two of us, all the thoughts and processes you have to go through in Tarkov if you're worried about survival. Suddenly, he was just dead, right? And that's just how it goes. So that's why, again, that's one of those simple things. We're just rotating and confusing someone as to where they think you should be versus where you actually are can be extremely useful for winning gunfights in Tarkov. And one of the best ways to do that is by changing elevation, going to a different floor. Just go scout outside, put some pressure on. He pulls nade. Send in. He runs away. Got him on the nade throw? Hell yeah. So right there's another great example of opportunities in time you can push someone because they are unable to shoot you, and nothing makes people panic more than being in the middle of trying to throw a nade and realizing they are being ran at. It's very hard to cancel that animation. You can do it, but especially once it's out and you're planning on throwing, there's the whole animation for that. Grenades used to work differently, by the way, in Tarkov, if you didn't play several wipes ago, where essentially it was one smooth action. You would click and you just yeet a nade. Now you got to pull that pin, hold it, and then you gotta throw it. So it takes quite a bit more, and definitely gets you killed a lot. But it's a great example of how, even though he's in that room, I am far. I mean, there's a solid probably, 20, 30 feet between us. I got to cover some distance. I hear that slight ching of him pulling the pin, and we are on him as fast as possible. It's another great example. You don't have to be a great shot. I just center massed as I walked in. He was just trying to pull out his gun to be able to do anything. And the fact that he tried to go for a nade throw just didn't work out well for him. Always go for a nade bait first, because you can get someone like me to try to run at you thinking you're going to have no gun and be a little overzealous, when if you nade bait and put it away immediately, you can have your gun ready by the time they push you. So just another good example of they gave us information as to what he was doing, and that information happened to be, I don't have my gun out, I can't pull my gun out, push me please. So he knows I'm here. I'm playing a left angle peek. If you missed it there, the reason I was chuckling is this was all the more satisfying simply because this guy tried to goad me into taking a bad move. If you couldn't hear it because I start to explain something, he says, "You won't do it." And it definitely got a bit of a reaction out of me. So let's keep watching the clip, though. Oh, this was a good sound cover. We just down. Dropping down to first, looking for a flank here. Guy literally doesn't even realize that we repositioned because we used the nade to cover our sound, and then we dropped to a whole new floor. Flash it on for approach to blind. Didn't even look at it. I was on a left side peak. I don't want to be on a left side peak, right? Again, understanding how to win fights is understanding when you're at a disadvantage from the get-go. Left side peaks work differently than right side peaks. A left side, it's a lot harder to drag your gun around the corner, and you have much more like, it's hard to essentially create a good line of sight down to where you're looking without having it touch the wall that you're basically moving off of. Versus a right side peak, you have a faster angle, your muzzle goes around the door faster, and you're able to do a little lean and get a better line of sight on someone. So right side peaks are a lot better than left side peaks. I have a left side, he has a right side. So the very first thing I want to do is cut across the other side of the road, which is what we do. We run across, we get into the other room. He doesn't take a shot because it's a very brief amount of time. So first we reposition to be in a better place, and then what you see on stream there is I use a nade for sound cover. As soon as I throw that nade, it's going all the way down towards the edge. He's a decent player, so he realizes he's got to make sure he doesn't get hit by that nade. So he's going to tuck in his room. The nade goes along, explodes. He's tucked. He loses vision, he loses audio, and we drop to the floor below. Again, repositioning to a different level, and suddenly he has absolutely no fucking clue that I've moved. He's still hard angling, watching for that spot. And this is how rotating can really win you fights. You don't have to have great aim there. You walk up with that flashlight blinding on the stairs, and you shoot him center mass. He didn't even look at us, man. He was hard staring, and it was the, like, classic movie, like, oh no, deer in headlights, and we just absolutely got to annihilate him. Again, nothing incredible about those shots there. Yeah, I hit him pretty fast, but even if you just got a decent gun with some okay ammo, you come up around that corner on the staircase, you're probably going to win that fight. He laid down. Hit a run across. We're going down to first. We're going to rotate on him. Oh, another reposition. Okay, yeah, this guy
could have teammates on
was
first,
fighting me in
we're going to move quickly.
Death Hallway, as I like to call it. He laid down. We rotate bottom. When we catch him, he's got no clue whatsoever. Rotations, baby. Repositioning. Nice. All right, I couldn't help myself. I put a little editing on that because, goddamn, was that was just too good. Walking up, man's had absolutely no idea. Point being, though, let's actually break that down. So this is maybe the third time I've used sound and sound manipulation and changing levels to confuse an opponent, to confuse another PMC on the map. But this is a really great example. What's interesting is he was actually laying down, so he should have gotten audio of me as I was crossing underneath. But to an inexperienced player, they might think I'm moving above them on third and they're catching audio on third, or they might even think they're just hearing you approaching and they're just incredibly confused by the audio. Sometimes audio in Tarkov cannot be the greatest, if we're being fully honest. But we hit that rotation underneath rather than trying to push into death hallway and take shots on a guy that is holding angle, watching that barbed wire, waiting for us to jump over. We reposition to the other side, and not only do we get a second, 2 seconds to put a shot on this guy before he reacts, he is prone facing the opposite direction. If I wanted to troll that guy, mess with that guy, it would have been all too easy. You could have had a very, very, very low-key, not great ammo gun, and you're still probably going to win that fight. And it's all because you chose to readjust your position rather than walking into a situation where you have the disadvantage, trying to jump that barbed wire, trying to make an aggressive play. We can still play aggressive, but let's reposition so that we're back on the advantage and we make a hard push and we hit our shots. Made one. Nade two in the doorway again. I think we go tuck that door. We do. Little three-piece. Very nice. Very nice. Let's talk about what was happening there, why I was using nades a little bit more freely, and the concept of how to position yourself for dealing with like a team, dealing with surviving in a situation where you're a bit trapped. So first things first, we're going for nade kills, but even outside of that, looking away from that, the use of the nades there is really, really important, very, very practical, because we're in a situation where you have multiple people on different sides. We got people coming from the right side, we got people coming from the left side. When you throw a nade at people, a lot of good players are going to get aggressive and try and push on that nade, especially if they think you're throwing it close to them. They're going to try and run past it. They're going to try and overshoot it, get up in your box where you're trying to re-pull out your gun. We've talked about it earlier today in this video. In this situation, we had a lot of people not on the same team holding each other. So if they were trying to push, they had to make a split-second decision and either try and run in or hold or get shot by someone if they move too slow. So they were making their creep up, trying to move in on me. So the way I was using the nades was I was pulling the pin while I was back behind cover so I could put it back in if I needed to and pull out my gun, and then I was throwing them so that they wouldn't actually go out into the hallway. The way these people have been playing against me was very aggressive, so we were trying to essentially bait them into thinking, I'm throwing this at you, I'm throwing it into the hallway, your options either to run back or to run into me. And both times, because the players were fairly aggressive, they tried to run into me. And rather than running past the nade, they were actually running into the nade, because it's not always easy to tell where that nade ends up. So that's a really useful tool. Using your nades when you're in cover and throwing them where people least expect them. Don't always throw a nade just to get the kill or to push them away. Sometimes, if someone you feel like this guy is really aggressive, try throwing it in close proximity to yourself, tuck a corner where it can't hit you, and watch them run right into your nade. So we get 2 kills that way. At that point, we've aggravated the third player, and he wants to push us. So another great example of this is repositioning within a very confined space. When you're up on the 3rd story of east, you have a lot of doors that will basically be at a diagonal angle that you can get behind. You have a tiny crack in the window, or in the actual door frame. You got a tiny crack in the door frame that you can look through, and it gives you just that bit of visibility to know when to shoot. So you tuck that door if they're trying to push you, and when they swing the door, you don't even have to wait for them to get around the door or close the door or anything like that. You can pen through doors in this game. So you're going to shoot right through that door, especially if you have decent ammo. And just like that, we get a free kill, take no damage for any of them, and that's a 3-piece collected in less than like a minute. Again, it's a really satisfying clip, but none of that has to do with gunplay skill. None of that has to do with my aim. It all has to do with decision-making. The idea of subversion, changing the if someone thinks that grenade's going to be out in the hallway, because that's what most people do, put it in the room with you so that when they try to run into the room with you, they run right onto the nade. Or if someone's going to try and swing you in a room, they're going to be looking left to right. They're not going to be looking this way in towards the door, because that's a dangerous play for them, because if there's one or two people, they could get shot very easily because they're not paying attention to the majority of the room. You tuck that door, you watch that crack, and as they come around they try and push inside, you just pre-fire them. You don't even have to see them. You just shoot right through that door, and you get a nice free kill. Definitely someone in here. Entrance to east. All right, so good killing that guy. That's mainly gun skill. All right, we're playing a left peek. You look pretty geared. We'll heal up. Just have to have you don't bleed. Want to stay stuck right here. Stims are quick and easy. Make you less vulnerable. Heal bait. Walks right into it. Nice. Get baited, motherfucker. All right, let's talk about that one. Let's talk about that real quick. So, first thing is there's a lot of little stuff that we do there that's very gunplay related. I understand a lot of that's skill related, gun mechanics, aiming around a corner on a quick peek, you playing off a left angle, dangerous, but we made it work, right? The initial parts of that are very much just gun skills, so we're not focusing on that as much. What we're focusing on is how we played against the second player. We coming in to east side, we had information that there were at least two in there. We knew that guy was there. We'd heard the other guy right side. We traded some shots back and forth, I'm pretty sure. So we knew that guy was there. What we did is we did something called heel baiting. If you've never heard of this, this is a new thing to you. Heel baiting is extremely useful in Tarkov. It's a great example of using... It's a great example of taking what I talked about earlier with grenade pulls and like mag reloads and subverting expectation. Again, I've been talking about the idea of pushing when people will change a mag and pull a nade. Heals are a little more tricky because heals are a lot easier to start and then cut off. Therefore, heel baiting, the idea that you're making someone think you're going into a healing animation, but you're stopping it almost instantly, and you're hoping that they push based off the sound of you healing. You don't have to reposition. You don't have to really do anything. But what you're doing is you're creating a false sense of security that for that person that's pushing you. They think that you're in the middle of an animation, so you can't utilize your weapon. So they push aggressively. And even more so, we comboed two things right there, where not only did we heel bait, we pre-fired where we assumed he would be running to, and he ran right into it because he tried to make that split-second decision and push off of the heel and catch me unawares. Instead, we Uno reversed card, and we turned it around on him. So again, repositioning, changing levels, sound manipulation, all of that's extremely useful. But it's not just useful in terms of rotating on people and getting free kills. Sometimes it's in a direct firefight. We're using sound manipulation like a heel bait to make someone think that you are more vulnerable than you actually are, and you're turning it around on them, and you're hitting a quick pre-fire, or we're shooting them before they even come around the corner. You don't got to be a great shot for that. All you got to do is got to aim down that spot where you know he's coming, and you start putting bullets down, and he'll walk right into it. We've talked about a lot of things here. I just want to do a little breakdown and again talk about, this is not all the stuff that you can do. This is not all the, the only tips and tricks that exist out here. Here are just a couple examples, especially on a place like Shoreline where there's multiple levels. This is great for dorms as well. And you'll find this happens in a lot of buildings, different levels of interchange, so on and so forth. Changing where you're at, repositioning, using sound cover, dropping levels to absolutely disorient whoever you're against. They have no idea where you are and they lose track of your audio. Coming up from a different angle, pushing and pre-firing when you go around corners. All these things have really nothing to do with your actual gun skill. They don't have any, relevance to your aim or your actual mechanics as a keyboard and mouse player on an FPS game. These are all about your brain. These are all about your decision-making, your tactics to increase your survival chance. So if you're looking to elevate, you feel like you've got some good raw skill, these are really, really good little tricks, and we'll add more on. We're going to continue to make videos, but they're great little tricks to just up that chance of survival and those kills just a little bit. And you're going to start to discover other ones on your own. But there's a plethora of really creative ways that you can win fights in Tarkov, and it's one of my favorite parts about it. It's just not a regular shoot 'em and reset game. It requires a lot of trusting your impulse. You have to trust your impulse. You have to be willing to push aggressively sometimes. You have to be willing to be patient sometimes. And a lot of those decisions, most of those decisions that you'll make are based around the information you have, the sound cues you have, the understanding of how many people are around, where they're looking, where they're aiming. Do we need to readjust? Do we need to reposition? Do we need to cover our sound? What can we do to make sure we get the advantage coming into this fight versus just taking a straight-on fight? If you want to just take that straight-on fight, you feel free. But this is just tips and advice for anybody that's trying to elevate their gameplay and win more fights. All right. We'll talk to you guys next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on the video. I appreciate all of you. And yeah, have a good one.